frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daddy Knows Best channel, helping you understand this world, overcome this crazy life, and be successful and happy out there. This is a men's focused channel, but we talk about society, culture, history, and a lot of other darn things. So why is my title of this video called The Cat, Drag Queens, and McDonald's? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Why, why I have such a crazy title. It's kind of like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for a reason. So let's first talk about the cat of this story. Let's talk about, you know what's going on if you're familiar with the internet. It's with Anka. Okay, this short clip, I wanted to bring this up because supposedly the community or the communita all of a sudden was shocked. They were all of a sudden shocked, these messages where, the LGBT and these, all these drag queens and these people, like we just showed here a second ago, they were, this was about the same time, about a year ago, that they actively were telling you with, like with Elmo and Sesame Street and a bunch of other things that they were they were actively targeting your kids, that there's nothing that you could do about it, and that you best not say anything or do anything about it. And then, on the other hand, about the same time, wish I would have made a video, I thought about it at that time, at the same exact time that they say that they're going to target your kids, that they're going to invade public schools and libraries and convince them and train them to live these divergent lifestyles, I guess you could say. At the exact same time, there's this trend where, if you don't know the trend, we'll show the video here for you in a second. It's where this cat, it's from Animal Crossing, is an Egyptian, is dancing. You could say it is from a certain position, and they were saying that this is a bad influence. Now, if you're an ultra-conservative type, you think that any type of expression or experience possibly is bad here. But your kids are hearing about being told and taught to do much, much more worse or go much farther than this, and this is just something that was funny. A lot of parents these days do not understand what kind of world their kids live in, and if your kids are being sent to public school, their teachers are telling that not only, introducing these types of activities, but telling them that it's okay and that they should be doing this and much worse if this is considered so bad to you. But of course, so what I'm pointing out here is hypocrisy. The same people who, about the same time, 2021, this was going on, last year, openly said that they were going to target your kids, openly using your institutions, your movies, your entertainment, your music. And then all of a sudden, we have this almost Puritan outrage that, and let's watch this video here from Nifty that has 2.5 million views.
Cute matching profile pictures.
Okay, I think you get the point. It's very clear. This video continues, and in a very mocking way, they insult this trend. And again, there's a lot of internal politics, funny enough, with everything these days, as these gender type people invade everything. If you're not familiar, there was a quote unquote problem or catastrophe or issue where before all this happened with Anka, that there were two characters in Animal Crossing which they fought the creators and kind of took over Animal Crossing. These LGBT and these types of people, these gender people, essentially took it over. They took over like servers and discussion and groups, and the clothes. You know, you can kind of customize your clothing and, you know, introduce new fashion into the game. So they kind of made it a safe space. They controlled this. So I don't know if this act with Anka was directly about revenge, quote unquote, but anything that these people do not control, they consider a problem. And especially if it's, you know, just a man and just a woman. And that's also problematic. If anything like that gets popular with that form of expression. You see, all these people celebrated, and all of them were happy, and all of them fought for, you know, a quote-unquote gay or whatever type of relationship. And then all of a sudden, this trend happens, which is kind of lighthearted. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's going to get some, you know, some kids more quote-unquote active. But let's talk about that public school here in a second. We're going to be talking about that in here in a second. But again, you might think that this is a non-issue. You might be living your daily 9-to-5 life, and you might have never heard of any of this. And to you, it's fairly unbelievable that people would think about these things in a political and social way of controlling and, you know, playing this kind of game. But this is this 4D chess that people joke about, and that's kind of going on in our culture. Whenever and Minecraft has been taken over as well. All these really popular things are either taken over or destroyed. Star Wars, Star Trek, we've talked about all of that. They recently destroyed Batman, and they destroyed James Bond. They're about to destroy Indiana Jones, etc., etc. These people really don't care about you or your lifestyle. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about what's the majority of people, what people want and what people care about. This person Nifty and a lot of people thought it was funny, that they thought it was outrageous and strange that somebody would make this cartoon phenomenon into this. And I don't know if you know, but these people actively work to ban and shut down and kick these types of people out. Like with the Uganda Knuckles, they actively shut that meme down. They actively try to control you and control these types of things. But let's see what they think is normal. What did they think is acceptable? What did they think is good? Well, let's see. This is the House of Pride, brought to you by McDonald's. I thought this was about burgers.
In this house, the pride don't stop.
What?
We're diving right in.
What's going on?
In this house, the pride don't stop. Okay. In this house, the pride don't stop.
Are you ready, Ronnie?
I always am.
And we're gonna make this party.
Yeah.
Are you shocked? I thought something like this might happen, and it officially has happened. It officially has happened. If you don't know, they put on a drag show for McDonald's that was funded and associated with McDonald's that was targeted to your kids. These exact same people who flip out about a trend about, you know, women dancing back and forth with their hips, which could be a certain position, you know what I mean? They flipped out about that. They thought that was a problem. You know, with Animal Crossing, a little video game for kids, you know, it's perfectly fine that they, you know, introduced some gay characters and they controlled the communities and the Facebook groups and the narrative and, you know, what people could say and what they couldn't say, and they convinced and told everybody that these characters were gay in Animal Crossing. They had to be, and we changed their fashion, and they went and went and tried to change the how the game actually works so they would talk with each other more like they were quote unquote in a relationship in a kid's video game. And they say that at the same time they freak out then if you have any type of, you know, any type of self-expression between a man and a woman in a video game. And Anka, again, is supposed to be an Egyptian cat, and she dominates the man. If you don't know, she dominates the man. That's a problem because they don't have control over it. There's a lot more to say in this video. Don't click away. But what's going on here? What's going on? It seems like they want to control the forms of self-expression. What? You know, supposedly these people care about expression and diversity and all of these types of things. You think that they would accept creativity and expression. No, but if it's not our narrative or their narrative, if they don't control that expression or that trend or that dance or on TikTok or whatever, that's a problem. They don't have control over it. And again, if anything is promoted or gets popular where it's just a man and a woman, that's a problem. They can barely tolerate it if it's a man who's straight and then the woman is bi or something. And they're in a relationship where she's, you know, the woman's kind of loyal or kind of in a relationship with the guy. They can barely tolerate that. Let's continue. This website here, LGBTQ Nation, talks about, you know, this actor who was in that video. I think this is the same one, Shangela. I don't know all the details, and these people who consider themselves fashion stars and all this. The important thing to see here, in my opinion, is they say that the popular reality competition increasingly skew towards straight men and women and young teenagers and families. That's exactly the point of this. They're not staying in their community. I mean, yeah, sure, everybody has their right to organize themselves. You can have your own fashion shows. You can have your own beauty pageants. You can do whatever the heck you want. But they have to invade your quote-unquote space. They have to take over your popular media. And with Disney, they are coming after your kids. They've been very open about that. They are coming after your kids with Disney and all of these things in Hollywood. They have the audacity to say over 350 kids and parents. This is another post they have. 350 kids and parents show up, and they can't even speak English correctly. 350 kids and parents show up. You know, they could say, comma, these bigots, or who are bigots, or bigoted kids and parents. These people, again, can't even speak English. Protesting a drag queen story hour in Indiana. So again, they can protest, they can use the algorithms, they can report you on YouTube and shut you down if you have, you know, a type of, you know, dance, a reference, you know, some kind of fun on the internet. Uganda Knuckles, whatever it is. But, you know, we won't talk, again, we continue to not allow these exemptions and these things that arguably should have never existed, where we give trust and power over, and then that's one reason they love to take over these things. A lot of you people out there who have, you don't cook anymore, you've handed over your responsibilities, and you trust McDonald's to give you dependable food at a cheap price. So they're going to take over your McDonald's. You trust the police. They take over the police. You say, you know, you have to support the police and public education and these things. That's what, and Hollywood, and you're going to continue to go and watch most of these Hollywood movies. But of course, you will never speak out against the many things, the way that McDonald's has invaded and taken over, you know, modern culture and entertainment. Most of you don't have no idea how to cook. And there's politicians and people who want to make it illegal for you to even own chef's knives, especially if you live somewhere in London. But I wanted to go back and talk about Star Wars here for a second. I made it a big point in my previous videos. Again, they say that these quote-unquote things are just for kids, like with Star Wars and these things, and you shouldn't care if they change the story or they change the characters and the meanings and they disrespect characters. But the issue here is that they're taking over the message. They're destroying the message. They're pushing men out of society and culture and entertainment, especially if you're a straight man. And if you're a straight white man, you might as well be the devil incarnate, or, you know, the villain of the story. They'll continue to insult you. They'll go as far as to say is that we have the, as the community or the communita, that we have the power to change the name of Star Trek or Star Wars or James Bond or whatever you care about. You don't even have any power. We can change the name of it. The name of it to them doesn't even matter. That's how far they're willing to go to destroy this kind of stuff. And I wanted to bring this article up here and some of my final thoughts as we wrap this video up today. You know, education standards become a target. If you don't know, New Jersey, Michigan, San Francisco, like California, Chicago, Illinois, and some of these places, and again, are just extremely, it's unbelievable how leftist and corrupt these places are. If you're sending your kids to public school, they are victims and they are targeted by these types of people in public libraries. I want to go back to that article here. You know, I believe at the end here, they say that they will continue. See with the LGBT in here, with the drag queens, they say, of course, drag queens continue to support LGBTQ families and allies at local libraries, of course, through drag queen story hour events, harmless book readings that continue to attract queerphobic conservative protesters nonetheless. So I hope that you know that these people not only, you know, they're not only allowed to do this stuff by invitation. In many cities, they have allotted time, like hours, where they get to put on shows and entertainment. And sometimes, a lot of the time, they're even funded and they're paid with your own even tax dollars to put on little shows and book stories and readings. Again, I'm not some ultra-conservative, but imagine if every week you had a 3-hour allotment to go to a local library and read the Bible to kids. Imagine how that people would react to that. That would be on national and international news, especially if you were, you know, talking about, you know, some real deal, you know, King James version, you know, old school Bible, and some old school Christianity. You know, these people openly are targeting your kids. You know, and then when you bring up real issues like kids don't, you know, I think the point here is true, but you need to understand common lingo. You need to understand the common narrative. A lot of you older people are content to just, you know, be the silent majority, give up. You're not fighting for kids. You're not fighting for rights. You gave up. You allowed the you know, kind of the foundation of all of this with feminism to destroy our families and our local communities and our society. But they argue here that kids don't even know how to sign a check. I graduated high school and I didn't even know what college was. Literally didn't even know what it was. Most certainly I didn't know what interest rates were. I didn't understand how credit cards worked. I didn't, you know, you are handed a check, you know, take a big loan out, and you don't even understand the consequences as these kids travel the world, spend money recklessly. They have no idea how investing works or business works. They've never had to work. And then they get put into these cushy jobs where they expect that, you know, they don't have to produce anything. They get put into these HR departments and public relations types of departments and quote unquote humanitarian, so-called, I mean, that's what they like to call it these days, humanitarian efforts. And they don't have to produce anything. They are not accountable or really responsible for any product or goods, any innovation, any improvement within the company or of the product. Their main objective these days is to take over you and society and to mold you, because in a way businesses have been doing that for a while, like with McDonald's and Nestle and Coca-Cola. They don't have to prove that their product is good to you. They can attempt to become a normal everyday part of your life and your culture with your, you know, if you do celebrate anything culturally, like with Thanksgiving or Christmas or anything like that, even if you still do anything like that, it's just an opportunity to market to you. So kids literally get out of high school these days. A lot of them don't know how to speak or understand proper English. They don't have logic. They don't have reason. They've been taught to never criticize themselves, never tell themselves that they were wrong or they made a mistake. They get participation trophies. They are, you know, if you're straight or quote unquote one of the boys, or quote unquote have any type of expression of interest, you know, in women, teachers are actively targeting you. You know, teachers are actively talking about and have ways to discourage or, you know, decrease your grade if you have any type of viewpoint that could be considered quote unquote American or freedom minded or quote unquote conservative. You know, they are openly molding your children and targeting your children. And this is, again, is a men's channel. So why am I even talking about this? Well, again, a lot of you MGTOW people, I understand avoiding the stress, avoiding the problems, avoiding this fight. A lot of you don't have kids, and a lot of you just don't even want kids. You don't even have, you know, you don't have a shoe in this fight, or it's like you don't even want to be a part of this. But if you are trying to survive and make society a better place, if you're being a quote-unquote red pill person, you should actively be speaking out about these kinds of things. These people not only have social power, they have political power, and now they have institutional power through major multi-million, billion-dollar corporations and enterprises. And this is only the beginning. You know, in some major cities, you know, they do their pride parade. They get to paint the sidewalk. If you step where you're not supposed to step, or there were times with, you know, some of the peaceful protests that people went out there and painted over some of that stuff, and they threw them in jail. You can't even have your own street without, you know, them openly saying that they control your community and that they openly control your city, and that they're going to tell you, you know, what you can and cannot do and what's acceptable with how you speak and how you don't speak. Hope that you understand what kind of world that we live in. And this goes deeper than this. I bring this up for you men out there because if you have a trend, or if you think that something is entertaining, they can try to remove it, and they will fight to remove it. Just like this Anka trend. You know, they'll act like they're modern age Puritans. All of a sudden, they say, think of the children. All of a sudden, they say, think of the children. And why I bring this up for you men is that this is going to impact you. Not only if you have a family, but if you want to date somebody. You know, if you want to have a relationship, or if you just even want to have something casual, they're going to say, think of the children. It's like you as a man, you know, can't go out there. If you are a couple, or let's say you are a 35-year-old man who is dating a 25 or 20-year-old woman and you're in public, that could be considered obscene. There's people who want to make that a crime. There's people literally out there who would want to make that a crime and would actually encourage your kids to avoid even looking at you, because that's so heinous. It is so disgusting that you actually have a real heterosexual relationship, and where people can actually biologically, you know, have the ability to have children. You know, these people actively celebrate this, you know, man having a child and men breastfeeding type thing. And I bring all this up because they're going to continue in a greater and more extreme way to target your, you know, what entertains you, what stimulates you, what you like. And they're also going to attack what even as a man. I mean, if they're willing to say that, you know, you're not a woman if you don't do X, Y, and Z, or there's a problem with you if you speak out against transgender, you know, swimmers, a man, again, this transgender quote-unquote person who still had a sausage in his pants, you know, he might take a little bit of therapy. He might, you know, a guy out there might adopt a feminine name and have long hair, but he hasn't undergone transformational surgery and then invades your swimming competition. You can't say anything about it. You don't think that these kinds of things are coming for you as a man? You know, some woman is going to have some kind of surgery or be quote-unquote trans, and you're going to have to give special privileges or change the social dynamic or change how you interact with somebody. Or change how you speak, change how you act. Give these people special accommodations and special privileges and special treatment. So, I bring all this up because I think that you as a man need to speak out. And I think that you need to celebrate, you know, what you like. Now, in regard to this type of quote-unquote entertainment with Anka and the Anka Zone and this type of stuff, we're not getting into that debate if prawn, I guess you could say, is healthy or good for you. We're not even getting into that debate. But if you want to celebrate it, if you think it's entertaining, there should be no shame for you. But of course they try to shame you. Of course they try to control you. Of course they want to control your forms of self-expression. And at the same time that they're shaming and removing and, you know, reporting you to these algorithms and YouTube and getting these, flagging these things and controlling what your kids can and cannot see, they're openly doing trans LGBTQ drag / fashion shows, and they get to control the narrative. I don't know if y'all know about that. That happened with that, you know, that drag show. They called it safe, and they called it quote unquote family friendly. They called it family friendly because that's their narrative, and that's their next biggest push right now, is to be considered family friendly entertainment, so that they can be on, you know, all these organizations and all these little shows where they show drama and in popular movies and things where you just set your kids in front of them, you know, these channels, and you trust that it'll be quote unquote family entertainment. You trust these, you know, you trust this, you know, you trust these people to give your kids, you know, gender free or, you know, segs, you know, essentially entertainment that's not explicit or isn't referring to anything that could be considered explicit or of that kind of nature. But their next push is to be considered family friendly, as they openly fight biology, and openly fight families and openly fight, you know, a man and a woman having a relationship, or even when it's you know, just entertainment, like with Anka the cat, an Egyptian cat, you know, riding Bob the Builder essentially. That's considered something that's problematic. They didn't create it, they don't control it, and in a way it was a rebellion, or it was rebellious against their quote-unquote safe space. You see? And they're already politically speaking about what is quote-unquote respectful, as if you have to give respect to the quote-unquote government, or you have to quote-unquote respect these people, or they're going to throw you in jail. And we're already headed that way. And again, I'm speaking out against this, or with you here today, as a quote-unquote red pill person, because if you don't speak out against these kind of things, if you don't speak, they're just going to continue to have further and greater powers in your public schools and your society. They're going to be on your regular television soon. They're going to be putting, you know, drag acts, you know, a little strip show or something into, you know, Nickelodeon or whatever the popular TV, channels are, or a little movie or something. They're going to find a way to, you know, say, you know, dad's a secret drag queen on the weekends and all these kinds of things. They're going to make it normal and get into more and more of your movies and more of your public spaces. So you have to see them. Again, they don't care about democracy or what's popular. Again, these people are a small minority. It's the same story. They don't care that they're a minority. They want to actually become the majority or become, you know, a big part of society. They openly speak about making, you know, heterosexual relationships between a man and a woman a minority. They openly talk about, you know, men and women who actually want to have children, you know, who are their, you know, the people who are their own cisgender, with their, you know, the gender they were born as. If you do want to have children in a family, they want that to be considered a fetish, where it's like a, you know, a small group of people, and it's just something that's, you know, it's like role playing, or it's just something that you like make up, and it's like, or it's considered strange or abnormal. So they literally want you to become strange, and it's strange and abnormal for you to, you know, just be a man and a woman who just want kids and just want a family. They just want that to be another kink, or something that's just abnormal. Something that's not actually, you know, normal. And as science goes further and allows us to do more and more strange things to our bodies, we're not asking about, you know, what's healthy or the social consequences of these kinds of things, just like with feminism. Feminism got to destroy the traditional families, destroy our traditional societies where men go to work and women take care of children, and women teach children as well, where women cook and men provide and protect and do all these things. We've destroyed all these things, like also with police and firefighters and all these things that really shouldn't exist. We used to have local public schools where mothers would get together and teach their kids together with common core beliefs and culture. But now we have public schools, and they get to control what's in your books, what you hear about, how you learn, and what you learn. These people openly say that mathematics are racist. Your kids don't know much of anything about math anymore. And when you know, you say that kids don't even know how to sign a check, which is a good point. I mean, you're getting at a good point, but you don't know the common lingo. A lot of you people who are willing to speak out against this, or with this, are some of the older generation who still think about quote-unquote checks. You need to get these middle-aged people to help you to understand the lingo and the jargon, and some of this stuff moves so fast. In a couple years, a lot of people will have forgotten about this this Anka type of thing. That was a social trend that happened. Or Uganda Knuckles or whatever it is. A lot of people will forget about it. But you see the narrative and these things will be shifted. They slowed down and essentially destroyed the Anka trend, which would have been one of the biggest trends, or would have been significantly much bigger. It was shut down and it was removed on places like Twitter. They screamed, they demanded, they reported on all these things for the quote-unquote safety for your children. They don't care about the safety of your children. In fact, they're targeting your children who are 7, 8, 9 years old, even 6 years old, and telling them that certain things are normal. I mean, these people literally have kids' coloring books and books for kids about you having 2 daddies and 2 mommies and all this stuff. They do not care about, having a certain age of understanding or considering what's normal and what's not normal, or giving your kids the option to choose what they believe. Or they don't care about protecting your kids. The same people who want your kids to be reading LGBTQ and drag and gay and all this stuff, kids' books, are the same people who openly don't want your kid to know about Anka. Essentially, again, where an Egyptian cat, has some fun with Bob the Builder. Yes, we can. I hope that you understand what kind of world that we live in. Because, again, a lot of you don't understand what this whole issue was about. It was about, the problem was one of their sacred safe spaces that they had taken over with Animal Crossing, a kid's video game, that they took over that space. It was against LGBT and these Q-type people. I think that you should exist, or I think that you should have the freedom to be in whoever you want or what you believe. But these types of people have a complex where they think that they're, again, some of you ultra-conservatives are warring against them and do want them kicked out of society, and you do want to completely silence them. And then they think that they're the minority, and in many cases they actually are, but they also think that they're being oppressed. And they have these Marxist type views, and you fuel this fire. If you, as quote unquote, again, I'm not one of them, if you were a Christian conservative and just would have respected these people from the beginning, maybe they wouldn't target your children as much. Maybe they wouldn't be so aggressive. But now they think it's fun and they have to target your children and target your kids. You see, your kids are not going to hear about normal relationships between men and women. And we're going to wrap this video up. I know that I've been going on for a little while, but I wanted to make this final point. When's the last time that you watched a movie or heard about or heard a song where there was a normal relationship? I'm talking about a modern movie or a modern song. I'm not talking about going and watching an Old West movie or listening to some country music or something. I'm talking about when's the last modern song that just came out this year, or a modern movie that just came out that's at the movie theaters, where there was a man and a woman, cisgender, the genders that they were born as, having a healthy relationship where they were committed or fairly committed together, and that they also possibly even wanted to have children. I can't remember the last time I remember that. Anything that even came close to that was like Iron Man and with Pepper. And they actually had a bad relationship that was like on and off, hot and cold. And I think she ended up leaving him, or Iron Man or something. So not only did they have a bad social dynamic, Iron Man was arguably a player, but then also, they tried to work on the relationship and fix things, and I think Pepper just ended up walking out on him. For all I know, they made or will make Pepper, a lesbian or something. I mean, I don't even know. Again, more power. Again, I'm not being hateful in this video. I respect people, the way you identify and the way you believe, but you don't get to lie or control what is, with science, what is considered biological, or what is considered, you know, quote unquote normal. And you also, and we also, you know, you don't, why do you get this unfair representation, this over representation? Hope that you're, and again, I'm not trying to get or tell quote unquote conservatives or whoever to go out there and try to silence or fight. Clearly, they're not even trying to do this. Yeah, there are some people who will protest you, and then you act like that's a huge problem. You get to protest. These left, you know, extreme modernist type people, you get to protest. You get to do violence, and it's considered the summer of love or peaceful protest. But you're not allowed to, or people aren't allowed to protest you, or protest your ideas. You see, these types of, you have to consider somebody else's point of view. In a society, you have to negotiate. There's going to be differences. We have to work with each other. And with our government, again, the whole problem is that our government should never have had these kinds of powers that we're debating on how or where certain governmental powers are used, or certain funding for certain, you know, where tax dollars and money and where we borrow and get into all this debt, we're debating on where this money goes to certain communities and to certain organizations. Again, you average person, especially if you live in the country, you don't understand the millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars that are given to these organizations who lobby and work to fund and educate and give all kinds of privileges in these cities. You don't understand that hundreds and millions of dollars are given to these types of people. Yes, the drag queens. Yes, the LGBTQ and all of this. That they are given hundreds of thousands, if not and millions of dollars, and they have multiple organizations. You know, there's a drag queen organization for just about every quote-unquote minority group. There's not just one. There's like dozens. And I'm not saying that they should be, well, I'm not saying that they should be kicked out of society, but our government should not be funding anybody like that. Our government should not be funding beauty pageants either. And imagine, again, if society had requirements, again, if I'm not saying it would be a good idea, but imagine if you, as a quote-unquote conservative, or not even a conservative, or a quote-unquote right-wing, as they like to call, you know, anybody who doesn't agree with anything that they believe in or that they like to say. Imagine if you had a beauty pageant where you required people to be their own, to be cisgender, the gender that they were born into. Imagine if that was an actual requirement. So that you would, that essentially that you were excluding the gays and the trans and all of this. Imagine how people would react these days. Imagine how people would react. But they get to control their own areas. You see what I'm saying? These people get to invade and demand and take over, essentially. So again, the solution is you as a man is to start using your own influence. You being the silent majority as a quote-unquote person was a problem, or was a big problem that led to all this. You men capitulating and being under the foot, being dominated by feminism, got us to all these problems. You men out there who are being MGTOW or red pill and just being silent and not speaking out against any of this are quote-unquote the problem. You can try to go to a foreign country, yeah. You can try to find somebody who might want to work with you. But these people are coming after all of the governments. They already have power with the United Nations. They get to decide what's normal or what's acceptable, who you get to date and what you don't get to date. And they are gaining more and more powers and more influence. Where are the red pill people who have influence? The mayors, the judges, the politicians, the people who are leaders in businesses. Where are the men who say we get to we are allowed to express ourselves? And again, a lot of this, you know, prawn industry isn't even good for men. It's unhealthy for men. It also takes advantage of men. Again, most of them don't speak out against it because you, as a man, are constantly giving over all of your money to all these, like, OnlyFans girls and all this stuff. Which is also considered a form of women's empowerment and all this. You know, but they still think that a lot of people actually feel like that's still a form of manipulation. So you as a man, you don't get to enjoy anything. You don't get to enjoy anything, even if you're willing to throw money at a woman to do something or show something on the internet. You know, that's still victimizing a woman. What's it going to take for us as a society to go back to, you know, a normal type of situation where a woman, you know, her body or that type of experience with a man and a woman, you know, the woman shouldn't get paid or doesn't get paid. You know, you only get paid or get the benefits if you are actually in a relationship or actually have a marriage. If it's just a one night stand, if it's just a fling, if you and a woman are just doing something, you shouldn't have to pay because you're both mutually, you know, having this relationship. But you know, this is a big part of MGTOW and quote unquote red pill that's not spoken about. I think is a big problem and a big issue. You're constantly you think it's normal to hand over all of your money to the government and to women to just, but you know, just to have a little bit of self-expression, just to have a little bit of a release, you know, to get it out of your system. And women will sit back and they'll use birth control and they'll be able to, they control themselves better than you can, and then they get all this money, they get all these benefits. Again, women spend 80% of the money in the economy. That means that, you know, women are 50% or maybe even more, 52% of the population. They spend their money. And then they also, you know, control, you know, half of the money, essentially, half of most of men's money that they have in a society or an economy. And that's the married men. So essentially, women control all of their money. They control all of the money most of the time of married men. And then, you know, there's some men here and there who also are throwing money at women. How is that fair? How is that good? And I bring this up because it's the same thing. You still trust your city, you know, your city government. You still control your local judges and your mayors. You don't speak out. You don't say anything to your local mayors, your local governors, your local judges, even if they have the best of intentions, even if they are, you know, somewhat normal. They often get pushed out if they are, you know, normal. But let's say they are, you know, you live in a more quote-unquote conservative area. These people are still being threatened and pressured. They're still being threatened with dark money. You know, if they're willing to steal an election, and most, you know, California money and all this, they're most certainly willing, you know, to take over your local city, you know, your local city, your local police department. Hope that you understand that. So you as a man need to start speaking out. You need to start getting influence. You need to start organizing yourselves and have some form of power, some form of influence. Yes, it's hard because the FBI and the CIA openly have targeted certain groups. You know, things like Minutemen and militiamen, who are essential and foundational to this country and with our history. They have more legal rights and to exist And that's how we, and you know, legal justification to act in regards to our history and our government than public schools or most of these things. The Federal Reserve, you know, the FBI, who targets these quote unquote, you know, Minutemen. These Minutemen have more legal right than even the CIA and the FBI to exist. They shouldn't even exist in the first place. Hope that you understand this kind of thing. And I bring that up because these types of people are going to try to make you into the minority. And in the future, they're going to try to make you ashamed. You know, just like in commercials where they made white men seem stupid and buffoons, incompetent, lazy, stupid. And now you can't even find white men even in basic commercials. You know, there's no representation for white men. Soon, you know, you already can't find a regular relationship, especially between a white man and a white woman. But pretty soon, on all of your entertainment and with all of your movies, you're not even going to be able to find relationships between men and women. It's not going to be very common for you to even see, you know, most of your entertainment and your commercials and things are going to be with these multi-gender, drag queen, and trans and all of this. And this is going to have a serious impact on society. We're going to have, and this stuff is being encouraged because the powers that be have openly said that they want to decrease the population. This is openly decreasing the population. We're having less kids. We're having less families. We're having less human interaction. And ultimately, this stuff, just like feminism, is going to end up making people less happy. But they don't care about your happiness. You are an object. You are something to mold and something to control. You are a product. These people in the government, in these giant corporations, they know better than you, they're smarter than you, and they have the quote-unquote right to determine and decide and change, you know, how you live and how you think. Again, these people openly talk about, especially feminists too, targeting your traditions, targeting your cultures, and targeting your religions, culture, society, social norms, all that stuff. When's the last time in the USA that you saw like a little march, or, you know, there was some kind of cultural event, you know, of some kind of local people with a culture? You know, if you go to Colorado and some of these places, they might have that for like art mixed in with like Native American history or something. And in some places, like in Texas, there's, you know, like Spanish or Mexican people who march and talk about their ancestry. But I'm talking about like real, you know, local communities with local heritage. You don't see the Cajuns do that. I guess we have that, some form of that with Mardi Gras, which is one of the last surviving things like that. But of course, they invade Mardi Gras as well. They target it. But when's the last time you had anything that was cultural? Anything that, you know, societal, with, you know, people who had their own lifestyles and their own beliefs and their own culture. I can't remember ever seeing anything like that. I can't remember in my whole life if I've ever seen anything like that. I can't. I don't think I ever have. I really don't. And again, I'm not even talking about quote-unquote minorities or people who want to quote-unquote represent themselves. I'm talking about people with actual lifestyles and actual careers, an actual way of living, where they, you know, expressed that they were a part of that area or that region or that society. Nope. I can't think of anything. I don't think you have either. And I'm not even talking about something like the Amish. The Amish most certainly don't get on the street and you know, express that they exist to the local community. That's another thing. If you are if you are like these types of people, you know, these people openly want to fight you. They openly want to act like you shouldn't exist and that you're disturbing. These LGBTQ and all these people, They don't often speak about it, but when they do, they don't want the Amish to exist. You know, they don't want you to have a small group of people who have different views than them or identify or believe a certain way. That you're organized and self-sufficient and, you know. But I'm going to leave it here, my friends. Hope that this was a fun video. A story about cat, drag queens, a cat, drag queens at McDonald's. This was one of the most fun videos that I've ever made. I hope that you thought it was fun and original. I hope that you see the hypocrisy, the manipulation, and the lies of these people. Again, I hope that I broke it down well enough for you, the average person out there, to understand. Start learning real jargon and to communicate, because speech does change so fast, and you shouldn't have to play these word games. But that's another way that these people control people, is that every 10 or 20 years and every new generation has their own lingo and jargon. And if you're up here trying to make a good point that, you know, kids should be educated regarding finance, and you're talking about checks and a checkbook and clearing a balance or something, you know, people are either going to ignore you or laugh at you. You have to understand basic terminologies and get your point across. Because the few of you who are willing to speak out, you're not organizing yourselves with people, and you're not even using, you know, you're not even using common language that these types of people even understand. But a lot of these people aren't going to be willing to understand you. They don't care to understand you. They aren't, you know, they aren't even willing to debate with you. They write blogs where they say that they don't have to, you know, tolerate you or speak to you, and they don't have to explain themselves to you. So don't expect these people to be open or to be friendly. And if you ever talk to these people and they say that they're listening or to continue or that they're curious, 99% of the time, they're just frauds, and they're just looking for ammunition to use against you, to understand how they can debate you or stop you and present views where they can, you know, change you. Hope that you understand what's going on here, my friends. So, this is the Daddy Knows Best channel. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and tell a friend. I will see you soon, and I hope that you enjoyed this video here today, and peace out, everybody.